mean, he says it so well. You know what he says? The greatest men and women of the world burn the midnight lamp. These kids who don't want to study, you can't go anywhere.
Oh, that's right.
I mean, there's no future. There's none. We can't even hire you. So the guy reads and studies. And over here. And then one more thing Bobby says. A reading man and woman is a ready man and woman. But a writing man and woman is far superior. I mean, it's eloquent. It's lovely to look at. I mean, when somebody's speaking and you can understand them, it's like music to your ears. This is the list of the finest writers, journalists, editors, our people have ever produced since leaving Africa. Let me go over them. On the top left is John Edward Bruce. 1911, John Edward Bruce establishes the Negro Society for Historical Research. Guess who is his vice president? Arturo Schomburg. They collect all the information, all the manuscripts of black people. This is John Edward Bruce. He is a personal friend of J. Robert Love. He communicates with Duze Mohammed. These are all the same guys. Next to him, unfortunately, is W.A. Domingo. W.A. Domingo is Jamaican. He was born, believe it or not, in St. Anne's Bay. Same place as Garvey. Mm-hmm. In fact, once he's involved in backstabbing and denigrating Garvey, he goes to the Jamaica Progressive League. He's one of their founders. But W.A. Domingo, to the right of John Edward Bruce, guy's a superior writer. I mean, no offense. These other black newspapers, they were talking nonsense. They can't write. I mean, you have to be able to read and write. You have to read and study. Domingo, for all of his Uncle Tom antics, he is an excellent writer, bar none. Next to him is Carter G. Woodson, who was an editor of the Negro World. So that's where he gets the concept of Negro History Week. There's no other place. Next to Carter G. Woodson is William Ferris. This is how William Ferris dresses when he's taking the garbage out. The guy is superiorly, sartorially, always well dressed. He has 2 degrees, one from Harvard, one from Yale. He is with the Niagara movement. He's with Dr. Dubois. He's with the Talented 10. Once he meets Garvey, he says, I'm out of here. I'm going with the true man. He becomes the 3rd editor. These guys, what they write is unbelievable. Underneath him, J.A. Rogers, who wrote From Superman to Man, Great Men of Color. He's also Jamaican. He writes for the Negro World. Next to him is possibly the 2nd greatest genius we've ever produced. I mean, he is so great, he's possibly in the same category as Imhotep. His name is Hubert Harrison from the U.S. Virgin Islands. The man is an absolute genius. All he has to do is look at something. He's read everything there is in the world. He goes through his memory banks and he tells you everything about it. He could have been a surgeon if he wanted. He could have done everything. He's the 2nd editor after Garvey of Negro World. The man's a super genius. He leaves Garvey because he believes class is the solution, not race first. But Garvey's argument is, but we're not denigrated, we're lynched, with Jim Crow, not because of our class. I don't see poor white folks getting that. They only attack us because of race. So why cut the white? Why do the bluff? So eventually he leaves Garvey. Let's skip the white-looking guy. The last guy is Duze Muhammad Ali. He starts the African Times and Orient Review. This is the man who sits down with, Garvey's got 2 mentors in his life. The first one is J. Robert Love, who introduces Haiti to him. The second one is Duze Muhammad Ali, who introduces Ethiopia as the mother of all civilization. Egypt is the daughter. It's Duze Muhammad Ali who gives Garvey the recommendation so he can read and study in the British Museum to do all that study. But Duze Muhammad Ali had just written a book, a 300-page book on the history of Egypt and Sudan. So he's telling Garvey all of this. Garvey works for him. And the beauty of of this. Garvey's working for him in 1913 in London. 1921, Duze Muhammad is in the United States, and Garvey gives him a job. So it's come full circle. The master was teaching the student, now the student is hiring him. He puts him in charge of the Detroit UNIA. It's incredible. I mean, just think of it. Garvey was a little pup, just absorbing all of this. But he's the one who puts it all together. Now, the white-looking guy. This is the finest editor, writer we've ever had. His name is T. Thomas Fortune. This is the man who spends 18 years with Booker T. Washington. But more importantly, he is the one who writes the rebuttal to Rudyard Kipling's nasty, racist poem, The White Man's Burden. He writes, what is the white man's burden? Ye vile hypocrites. This is the man. He is, I think, probably the second finest writer in this group. Harrison was probably better. But, I mean, these are the types of people you had. Plus, Garvey's probably better than, Garvey's excellent. This is incredible. Here it is. The first stanza is Rudyard Kipling's poem. He says, take up the white man's burden, send forth the best ye breed. Go bind your sons to exile, to serve your captives' need, to wait in heavy harness, O flooded folk and wild, your new caught sullen peoples, half devil and half child. What he's saying, look, white people, give me the best you got, your best intellectuals, because we got a real job to do. We got to go and civilize and subdue these half-devil savages. So give them up to us. You have an obligation. T. Thomas Fortune says, whoa. What is the black man's burden? Ye hypocrites and vile, ye whited sepulchres from the Amazon to the Nile. What is the black man's burden? Ye gentle parasites who crush and rob your own brother of his manhood and his rights, because you are nothing but evil. This is what T. Thomas Fortune writes. Eventually, he breaks away from Booker T because he's probably too radical. This is the guy who ends up being the editor of. You have people, let me tell you a quick story. About 2 months ago, I'm on the train, reading, studying, preparing, and this young brother, let's call him almost like a thug type. He had his hoodie on, he had his, what do you call it, one of those headphones, playing very loud music, this and that, but he's moving around, bebopping, dancing. There's this, I believe a Filipino woman. It wasn't a white woman, but it's not a black woman. And she kept saying something to him, stop this, but very racist. The young brother, who has no command of the language, who doesn't understand how the world acts, he gets all upset, he starts cursing, then everybody attacks him on the train. Everybody. So he left. All he had to do is, excuse me, miss, this is a different century. Your racism cannot continue. That would have settled it. You would have insulted her to the maximum degree and everybody would have respected you. But not having a command of the language, what do you resort to? Profanity, illiteracy, and you look stupid. These guys are the finest set of writers we've ever had. Period. They always denigrate Garvey and Negro World. But let's look at the content, the intellectual application. These other newspapers can't even compete with that.
That's the book right there.
Today would have been 73rd birthday of Tony Martin. Everything I say here, everything in our journal, and I ask you if you like what you've read or what you've seen, please purchase our journals. Everything is from Tony Martin. This is the finest authority on Garvey. Bar none. There's nobody better. This is the only book that Garvey's ever written, actually. Actually, he didn't read it. He didn't write it. This is his course in African philosophy. He taught it in 1937 in Canada. But these are all the notes. Excellent book. I'm going to show you how money works in this country. In 2013, I bought 3 of those books off Amazon.com. I didn't even spend $27. It was like 26 something after tax. Okay. During this past summer, we're having our centennial for the UNIA. It's been 100 years since Garvey established it, July 20th, in Kingston in 1914. So 2014 is our 100th anniversary. So Mr. Duncan, the ever vigilant businessman, says, "Hey, Raymond, why don't we go buy some books and resell them?" I said, "Good idea." We go to Amazon.com. Mr. Duncan, how much were the books? $400. We're being played every day, we don't even know it. The book is for us, but they had to have known it was the centennial that we would be buying it. It went from less than $9 to $400. Here it is. This is incredible, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, by the way, you've heard of the NAACP? They were the arch nemesis of the UNIA. Mm-hmm. Does anybody have any idea, in their height, what was their biggest membership? Take a guess. Take a wild guess, anybody?
2,000.
How much?
2,000.
2,000. At their highest, they had 90,000 members. Does anybody know how much UNIA ACL had at its highest?
11 million.
11 million. We're talking
globally.
Worldwide.
That's right.
Just in New York City, Garvey had 35,000 members. Just in New York City. People don't realize it wasn't a Mickey Mouse organization. It was a government. 11 million people. Okay, who is this guy? What happens is, okay, does anybody believe that Garvey being so successful would not have been spied upon? In fact, the first black FBI agents were hired to infiltrate UNIA. And the sad thing is, they don't even thank Garvey for that. They should have said, "Thank you, Garvey, because without you, I would have never gotten a job." Mm-hmm. Because there was no need to hire those agents to spy on black people. We were nothing. Anyway, this guy in the picture is Joel Spingarn. Joel Spingarn is in charge of MI4. What is MI4? What happens is, MID is the Military Intelligence Division. The United States government was behind in spying and espionage. The British government, because of their colonial government, always had to have espionage. They were the finest. So they create the Military Intelligence Division. There's two categories, positive and negative. Positive is for abroad, that's like CIA type material. Home, negative is the home, that's like FBI material. Okay. The MI3 was like the non-civilian, the military. MI4, military intelligence 4, that's civilian. The MI4 was run by this guy, Joel Spingarn. So what? He was the president of the NAACP. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a bogus organization, they didn't even spy on it. In fact, what happens is, after the U.S. enters the quote-unquote First World War to make the world safe for democracy, even though we're not being treated equally here. So at that time, Dr. Dubois is the editor of the Crisis magazine, the official organ of the NAACP. So Dr. Dubois starts writing editorials that could be considered not positive towards the government. The government calls their guy and says, "You speak to that boy." He speaks to the boy. He says, "Boy, you better chill out." And he says, "Yes, sir. Yes, master." But that's what you can do. Same thing with the Defender. The Defender, Robert Abbott, was the editor of the Defender. When he needs to be put back in his spot, the government sends Major Howard Loving. Howard Loving has a very interesting background. He marries a Filipino. He lives in the Philippines. He was the one who spied on the Defender, but he also spied on Garvey. In the end, he was shot 3 times in the back of the head by the Japanese military as they invaded the Philippines. Anyway, so what happens is, Spingarn is in charge. Okay. These are all of the lists of the spies that the government used to attack Garvey. Herbert Bullen is separate from all the others because he's the only Jamaican. For some reason, he absolutely hated dark-skinned black people. And so he didn't love himself, obviously. He didn't love God.